So year 4, this is the video that accompanies your RE lesson. You should have already watched the video on YouTube, which is me talking to you about Epiphany and telling you a little bit more about it with the board. This is the task that you have to do. You have to read this worksheet and then answer the questions from the Word document. But what I thought I would do is I would read this out and you could read along with me if you would like to. Okay, so Epiphany. Epiphany comes from the Greek word epiphania, meaning appearance. The Feast of Epiphany is a Christian celebration which usually takes place in churches on the 6th of January, making the end of the 12 days of Christmas. It is a celebration of the baby Jesus being seen or appearing to the visitors who had travelled to see him. The visitors. 3 men were studying the stars and constellations with their telescopes. One night they saw a star which looked new and interesting. The men were very clever and understood the religious writings and books had been written many years before. The writings predicted that one day there would be a great star, and the star would mean that a new king, the king to save all people, had been born. The men were incredibly excited to see it. Packing up their belongings, they followed the star to wherever it led them. They are known as the 3 wise men. Did you know the wise men lived in the east? So they were probably from Persia, which is now called Iran. You could get a map out or bring a map up on YouTube and have on Google and have a little look at that if you wanted year 4. The Bible never mentions how many wise men there were, but because there were 3 gifts, people assume that there must have been 3 men. The wise men are often called the 3 kings. The journey. The journey would have been extremely long and difficult. It is likely that the men travelled on camels, across deserts and over mountains in extreme weathers. The star led them to the town of Bethlehem in Israel. The star came to rest over the place where the baby Jesus was. It is often thought they were in the stable, but the wise men arrived so much later after baby Jesus was born. They found him living in a house in Bethlehem with his mother and father. As the Son of God, the wise men took special gifts for the new baby to celebrate his birth. Gold, a precious metal and a sign of wealth. The wise men gave it as a sign of their love for Jesus as King of Kings. Frankincense, a strong-smelling gum from an African tree which could be burnt as incense. It was often used during religious ceremonies. By giving it to Jesus, it showed the wise men had faith in him. Myrrh, from the sap of another African tree. These trees grow in the shallow rocky soils of Ethiopia, Kenya and Somalia. By giving Jesus myrrh, the wise men were showing that they were willing to obey the new king. So there are many Epiphany traditions around the world. In Belgium, some children dress up as the wise men and visit different houses singing songs. In return, they may be given money, sweets or chocolate. In Spanish-speaking countries, Epiphany is known as Dia de los Reyes, or 3 Kings Day. Having filled them with straw, some children leave their shoes outside for the camels belonging to the wise men. In Mexico, a special cake called a rosca de reyes is eaten. A figure of the baby Jesus is hidden inside, and whoever has served the piece containing it will be godparent of Jesus for the coming year. When Elizabeth I was on the throne, it was common for plays to be performed around this time in England. In London, the Drury Lane Theatre had an annual tradition of cutting the 12th cake and serving it to the cast and crew. So, year 4, you will find those questions to answer based on that text on Teams. You can download them, type them onto Word, or write them and answer them and send them back to us. Enjoy!